we've heard remittances, 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 aid, remittances, unbanked. I don't see the volume, right?
Yeah,
And so maybe we should start tracking and maybe it's changing, but to your point, all the building blocks are there. Why hasn't it happened?
Well, I think there's a couple
what
reasons.
is missing? Because the market is huge, the tech is there, and clearly you've solved some of the regulatory components. So what's missing?
Well, I do think it is actually happening now, and we're seeing that on chain. And we see a lot more utility with respect to the remittance piece of it. But the problem that we have is that there isn't, and I'll just say that I think a lot of it is because the US hasn't taken the lead on regulation and really come up with a principle-based regulation that makes sense. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get this turned into something before the end of the year for stablecoins. But you see other countries don't really know how to manage through like the crypto and blockchain piece. And so, I'll just take Nigeria, for example. There was a huge remittance corridor that opened up on Stellar between Nigeria and Europe about 3 years ago. And it was really awesome. We saw lots of volume going through it, but it was using the Nigerian Naira. And then the central bank came in and they said, no, we don't like crypto. We don't like blockchain. We don't want to see any of that happening. They did that at the time because they were concerned that Bitcoin and other assets were funding the uprisings in Nigeria, which might or might not be true. But the point is, you don't just kill an asset, or you don't just kill a class of technology based on that. So a lot of this is like education and getting these other countries to be comfortable with that. So we're seeing more of it. We're definitely seeing a lot of interest in Africa, and we're seeing remittance corridors in Africa and also in Latin America. I'll tell you that once MoneyGram came on to the network with cash in and cash out, and they did it on a global basis for cash out, we see like certain interesting spaces, and we can see it because Vibrant is one of the wallets that we've built, and Vibrant, we see what's happening on Vibrant. We see remittance corridors pop up between the US and Colombia. Remittance corridors pop up between the US and Argentina. So we're seeing a lot more of it. The numbers aren't there. We need to see more. And so I do think we should track it. We're actually working with outside players to track that kind of stuff, because I think the more people see it and get comfortable with it, the more that we'll see more of it.
I don't think a lot of people know this, but I would argue that out of the major US execs, you're probably one of the top 5 best relationshiped people in DC right now. And we had Brad on earlier, and he mentioned 80% of their hiring now is overseas. Are you seeing anything different, or are you and your team and your community still facing the same struggles as everybody else with the US regulatory position against crypto?
Yeah, I think that, so most of our hiring is still in the US, but we don't have like Brad's team is a lot bigger than our team. And so we don't see that, although we do have folks globally. I have a lot of folks that build on the network, and most of them are building, frankly, outside the US because that's where they sit. Like, we spend so much time with companies that are solving local challenges, and those challenges aren't the same challenges in the US. Mm-hmm. So are we facing the same regulatory challenges? I'll say that, I'll just be honest and tell you, from a bank account standpoint, sometimes we get questions about whether or not we should be going to certain banks and whether those banks want to be friendly to us. That's just a huge bummer and really stupid, because US policy says that they shouldn't be doing it based on those, the class of business that you're in. So it's kind of BS, and it's a very frustrating thing. But we see that. From the rest of it, like, we just want to fix the regulatory environment here and to work with them. As much as I hear people say that we have to ignore the US regulatory environment and move other places, the fact is, a huge percentage of the population that you want to be able to leverage is in the US. So we can ignore the regulatory body, and I promise you it'll just get more fucked up than it already is. And so what we should do is pay attention there, make it better, really make them, hold them accountable. We need to see stablecoin regulation this year, because it's the goddamn lowest hanging fruit that we have domestically. And then we'll actually be able to change the course of seeing the US as a leader and lose this whole notion that we're going to lose ground to other countries. We already are, because we're not taking a lead, but we can do that still. Because even MICA in Europe, it's there, but they're working the details now. And so if we just have regulation here, it changes it. So I'm going to continue to fight the fight and to make this work, and to still like spend as much time as we do in the US and elsewhere. I spend time in Brussels and Europe and other countries too. But I think it's just important for us to like make it better. I know you spend time doing it too.
The people that want to wage war on the U.S. regulatory state, I can't imagine who you're talking about. yin and yang. For whatever reason, when you said that, I just had the visual. I don't know how many people have seen Boondock Saints. Like you're like one of the brother assassins, and I'm like the wild-haired guy that's like, coming in
That's why
rodeo
we
style.
work.
So, but